subsection House Bill 197. The public may observe these meetings on YouTube and or the Cleveland Channel 20. With that being said, this is our second in a series of hearings that will be, the Utilities Committee will be hearing on Cleveland Public Power. This week's topic is the history of Cleveland Public Power. And before we get started on the history of Cleveland Public Power, to my colleagues, the administration and the Public Utilities Department, we had a couple of requests made last week. Some of them were regarding polls, particularly in the neighborhoods and in downtown. That request was, we were told that would be filled by the end of the week. We also asked for the unredacted version of the study that was done by NewGen. I did receive an email from the law department indicating that they would not release the unredacted version due to it's not privacy, it was, I forgot the term they used, trade secrets. I'm sorry. So due to trade secrets, they would not release that. The Public Utilities Department did get us the other stuff that we asked for, which was the contract between NewGen and the city of Cleveland. And they also provided a copy of the RFP that went out for that contract. I was only able to get that in the print version. So I will be scanning that and sending that to all council members probably within the next day or so. But just to let you know that we did get half of that because the city or the administration and not the Public Utilities Department refuses to release the unredacted version of the report. I do want to let the council members know that in late October, early November, we'll be calling a special meeting and be asking NewGen to come to the table to discuss that study that was done. So with that being said, we're going to move into this week's topic, which is the history of CPP. Director Davis, are you or Assistant Director Kane or Commissioner Perry going to be the one speaking on this? You have to unmute yourself, Director.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, this is going to be a combination of all of us, and so we would hope for your indulgence with regard to the history of CPP. It is involved, and we do want to walk you through what we tend to be the start of it all, and all the way to the present. So with that, whenever you're ready, we can delve into it.
And the only request that that came from the council regarding the history of CPP came from Councilman Polensek, who was inquired about the annex of Collinwood with CPP. So I'm assuming that that'll be part of the presentation. So whenever you're ready, Director, go ahead and take it away.
Okay, that is correct, and it is part of this presentation. So with that being said, Mr. Chairman, our team today is myself, A.D. Kane, Joy Perry, Rich Barton, and Bernie Jackson. And so they'll be all doing a portion of this history. So we would hope that you would indulge us for a little bit as we get into this. So, Mr. Chairman, what started as a small one-story 225 kilowatt electric light plant evolved to a 360 megawatt electric generation, transmission, and distribution system that serves more than 77,000 customers. The division of Cleveland Public Power, first 100 years and chronicle history of the citizens' advocacy, system growth, and proud legacy of reliability and electric service, known affectionately as Muni Light. Today, Cleveland Public Power is the largest municipal power company in the state of Ohio and 35th largest out of 2,000 in the nation. Public power is nearly as old as the light bulb. So ever since the Forum of Citizens appealed the electric utility of the people, CPP has been an integral part of the municipal life and providing low-cost, superior product to Cleveland's continues to be a hallmark to CPP. CPP's longevity is a testament of the ability to successfully meet the needs of our customers and remain true to our core values of reliability, customer orientated, as well as local ownership as well. We invite you to take a look at the milestones and everything that has been done in Cleveland Public Power in the century and the history of its service. So with that, I'm gonna turn it over to Rich Barton, who talk a little bit about this thing dates back to 1890 to the present. So I'm going to turn it over to Rich to kind of add some context to what we're doing and where we're going and where we've been. Rich?
Good morning. Back in 1890, there was a citizens forum that called for the creation of a public power system. The Franklin Club, a group of leading social activists of the period who were devoted to topics of public interest, petitioned Cleveland City Council to establish a municipal electric lighting plant with wires running underground. In 1903, Mayor Johnson championed municipal power. He addressed Cleveland City Council and recommended that an electric lighting plant of the most modern type, by which we can produce electricity cheaply for street lighting, and in addition to give the people in their homes and places and businesses the benefit of electric light and power at minimum cost. So in 1906, Cleveland began operation as an electric utility. Cleveland began a 24-hour operation of the Cleveland Municipal Electric Light and Power Plant when it annexed the village of South Brooklyn and its light plant, which was a 225 kilowatt facility. In its first year of operation, the public plant served and saved the city of Cleveland $1,533.33. In 1910, the city annexed the village of Collinwood and took over the operation of their plant. So by 1911, the city had 2 electric light plants with an aggregate capacity of 1,950 kilowatts. Convinced of the benefits and cost savings of public power, Cleveland residents approved a $2 million bond issue to build their own large-scale steam generating power plant. To keep pace with the growing demands, while lawsuits prevented the sales of those bonds were being fought, and until a new plant could be financed and built, 2 used 500 kilowatt turbo generators were installed at the Division of Water's Division Pumping Station in 1912, and a 300 kilowatt generator was installed at the Collinwood plant in 1913. So now they had a total capacity of 3,250 kilowatts with 3 generating facilities. The municipal light plant was serving about 5,000 customers and was lighting about 120 miles of city streets. 1914, on July 24th, a new 15,000 kilowatt hour generating station was opened on East 53rd Street at Lake Road. It became the largest municipal power plant in the United States at its time. From then, the city completed 3 additions to the light plant between 1915 and 1927, and the customers increased from 15,508 to 42,000, and it raised our generating capacity to 50,000 kilowatts. In the years 1930 to 1936, the demand for public power continued to grow, and except for the slump at the height of the Great Depression, in those Depression years, the municipal power plant failed to expand, but continued to generate revenues. Profits were often diverted to the city's general fund to subsidize other city facilities. By 1934, Cleveland Public Power was serving 49,217 residential and small commercial customers, 177 large commercial customers, and 17,224 streetlights. In 1937, the Cleveland Municipal Light Association, which was a coalition of activists, formed a lobby to secure funds for new equipment and repairs. Their slogan was "Of, by, and for the citizens of Cleveland." So by 1938, a special election was held on December 21st, submitting a bond ordinance to the voters of Cleveland. That election resulted in a vote of 88,678 for and 34,894 against, thereby approving $3 million in bonds to build a new generating station on the Lake Road site. On October 6th of 1941, the new Lake Road Generating Station opened, and it raised our generating capacity to 87,500 kilowatt hours. The system at that point had nearly 55,000 customers, and the demand for electricity increased during the Second World War. During the 50s, Muni continued its expansion. The Lake Road Station expanded to provide 137,500 kilowatts of power, and a study back then showed that Muni customers enjoyed the lowest electric rates in Ohio, $2.65 per 100 kilowatt hours for residential customers. And the city earned national recognition for its street lighting program. In the 60s, Muni grows to 26 substation and reaches an all-time high of 59,664 customers. The 1970s were tumultuous. In March of 1970, the Federal Power Commission ordered Cleveland to establish an interconnection with CEI, and it ordered CEI to offer Muni alternative power when Muni had generating difficulties. Faced with shortfall in generating capacity, we began purchasing power from the investor-owned electric utility and established the first permanent interconnection. In 1975, the city filed a $330 million antitrust suit against the Cleveland Electric Illuminating Company, charging CEI with sabotaging a $13 million bond sale for long overdue improvements at the power plant and for related charges of trying to undermine Muni Light as a competitor. In January of 1977, the Atomic Safety and Licensing Board of the Nuclear Regulatory Commission ruled that CEI had deliberately rigged its interconnection policies to cause Muni's power failures and alleged that CEI and its allied companies had acted individually and collectively to eliminate one or more entities and to preclude competition. In April of 1977, we ceased power production at the Muni Light plant, choosing to concentrate on distributing power to customers throughout the city. On May 23rd of 1977, Cleveland City Council voted to sell Muni Light to CEI, and the Save Muni Light Committee was established at that time. In December of 1978, the city of Cleveland faced financial woes and refused to sell Muni Light. Unable to pay its debt, the city went into default. On February 27th, 1979, an election was held, and by a vote of 69,957 to 38,817, almost a 2-to-1 margin, the citizens opposed the sale of the electric system. In 1980, September of 1980, the antitrust case went to trial. A mistrial was declared after a hung jury voted 5-to-1 in favor of Muni Light. They deliberated for 13 days. The retrial began in July of 1981. In October of 1981, a second jury found in favor of CEI after deliberating only 6 hours. In 1983, we got a new name. Muni Light became Cleveland Public Power to reflect the public's decision to keep the city in the electric utility business. In 1984, a city council member proposed that the city sell CPP outright to CEI or to lease CPP to CEI for 25 years. In August of 1984, the mayor rejected that proposal, citing the city's own business interests as the owner of the utility. In 1987, City Council approved the sale of $50 million of bonds to finance the expansion of Cleveland Public Power into areas of Cleveland that had not been previously served by Cleveland Public Power. In 1990, city officials broke ground for phase 1 of a $240 million system expansion program designed to bring city electric power to potentially 95,000 households on the Cleveland east side and tripling CPP service capacity and doubling its service area to 70% of the city. In 1987, the city of Cleveland, Ohio Edison, Centurion Energy reached an agreement that paved the way for a productive working relationship with First Energy. The agreement set up a structure by which CPP and First Energy could compete while assuring that no customer would be left in the dark. The merging utilities and CPP agreed to cooperate more in terms of distribution and routing. In 2009, First Energy canceled that agreement. Faced by a loss of a CEI-backed taxpayer suit for the city to reimburse the city's general fund $29 million advanced to CPP between 1971 and 1982, the city placed a charter amendment on the November 6, 1990 ballot. The charter amendment explicitly authorized the city to provide financial aid to CPP if necessary. The voters approved that measure by a 2/3 majority. In 2000, voters throughout Ohio passed community choice options on their local ballots, which allowed local governments to begin to bargain for lower rates on behalf of the residents. CPP continued to market itself as the smart choice. 2001, Ohio deregulated Ohio utilities, opening the market to competition. Services subject to market rate competition, including retail electric generation, aggregation, power marketing, and power brokering, occurred, while electric transmission and distribution services remained subject to regulation.
Morning. 2006, a new image and a new image and grand plan for Cleveland Public Power. CPP welcomed the community to its 100th anniversary at 1300 Lakeside Avenue headquarters. The utility completed its first ever strategic business plan in history, establishing a pathway for the future and unveiling its new logo and tagline, "Count on It." Count on It was a new era, highlighted in its historical 2006. Cleveland Public Power in the year 2006 was both historical and milestones, as well as a significant year for a new beginning, celebrating its electrical power company for 100 years anniversary, completing its first strategic plan in history, new senior leadership, a record-setting day of electricity usage, and unveiling the new logo, Count on It, was kicked off at the implementation of the strategic marketing plan. In all, 2006 launched a new era for Cleveland Public Power. The strategic business plan laid out a roadmap for the future. With the completion of Cleveland Public Power's first business plan in December, Cleveland Public Power positioned itself for the new era. The documented new 5-year roadmap for the future, 10 recommended strategic options intended to solidify Cleveland Public Power as a leading provider of electricity. Some of them were enhancing the infrastructure, increasing the distribution capacity, improving the financial stability, increasing the diversity of power, increasing the market expansion, enhancing the communication and knowledge, and improving the corporate culture. New image, Count on It. The annual Public Power Week was held in October that put a face on the municipal electrical company throughout the nation. It was time to engage the employees and the community. So it was the appropriate time in 2006 event as a backdrop for the unveiling of Cleveland Public Power's new logo and tagline, Count on It. Cleveland Public Power's employees confirmed the commitment to provide safe, strong, reliable service and electric utility to the customers. Count on it. Recording customer service, we responded to the customer survey. CPP introduced the energy efficiency product, unveiling and including an online bill payment and budget billing. CPP held its first employees recognition luncheon, giving commemorable 100th anniversary t-shirts to every employee and to the collective body of those who attended. Our record recording day was August 1st. In the humidity of a 90-degree day in Cleveland. Not surprisingly, CPP customers turned up the power. But this time, powered up was none like any time in history. Indeed, we set a record of usage of 324 megawatts of electricity. 2006, CPP experienced a work stoppage. In May, the stoppage of employees represented by the Brotherhood of the Local Electric Workers, Local 39, ended in 7 days. 180 union employees went on strike for wage increase. When the union officials and CPP reached an agreement, both sides agreed to create an apprenticeship program to train the Cleveland Municipal School District's youth as linemen and installers. Service areas, where do we serve and where do we operate? We operate at the East Side Service Center, the West Side Service Center, Meter Service Center, 32 power substations, 3 interconnection, and customer service in the administrative building downtown. Our hours are walk-in lobby, 7:30 to 5:30. For payments, our telephone hours are 8 o'clock to 5:30.
All right, in 2007, CPP developed a new and improved customer-oriented website that set the stage for online and telephone bill payments. It increased efficiencies with the replacement of analog meters with automated radio meters. Some of those meters that were replaced had been in place for 75 years. We recycled the old meters and we sold them as scrap. The division began looking at renewable energy technologies in the area of wind, water pump storage, and municipal solid waste as ways of diversifying CPP's power supply. We became a participant in the 1,000 megawatt AMP Ohio American Municipal Power Generating Station in Meigs County, Ohio. And we launched the Intern Apprenticeship Program in cooperation with the Cleveland Metropolitan School District. In 2008, a long-term strategy was developed to diversify CPP's power supply. Cleveland City Council approved legislation requiring CPP to meet Mayor Jackson's Advanced Energy Portfolio Standard to promote cleaner environment. The goals were set at 15% by 2015, 20% by 2020, and 25% by 2025. CPP entered into participation agreements with AMP Ohio to purchase hydroelectric power from 3 future AMP Ohio hydroelectric plants. Those plants along the Ohio River include Cannelton and Smithland projects in Kentucky and Willow Island in West Virginia. These projects are expected to produce approximately 191 megawatts, and CPP is purchasing up to 50 megawatts of that hydropower. The agreement helped CPP meet the City of Cleveland Advanced Energy Portfolio Standards. CPP joined as a participant in the Cuyahoga County Regional Energy Task Force to study the feasibility of constructing offshore wind turbines in Lake Erie. We also completed a waste to energy feasibility study and began plans for a municipal solid waste to energy plant. CPP voluntarily registered with Reliability First, which is an agency charged with enforcing the mandatory reliability standards in much of Midwest America, including Ohio, and this placed CPP on the compliance registry that Reliability First provided to the North American Electric Reliability Council. The capacity expansion paved the way for growth and improved reliability. We continue to position ourselves for greater electric system reliability with the planned expansion of transmission and distribution facilities. The project plan for completion by 2012 allowed CPP to extend its electric service to potential customers in parts of the southern and western parts of the city that are outside the CPP footprint, as well as areas within the current footprint, but areas that lacked sufficient capacity. Those 3 projects cost approximately $66 million. A 4th interconnection was planned for the southeast neighborhood and involved construction of an interconnection switching substation between CPP and First Energy. That expansion allowed CPP to import power from outside of its system and provide electric service to future customers. The Lake Road project consisted of a new 138 kilovolt substation adjacent to the current Lake Road substation and had 2 40 megawatt amp of power load that will allow CPP to serve new customers in the downtown area. The Southern project was an expansion of the Southern 138,000 kilovolt transmission system and the addition of a 138 to 13.8 substation at Ridge Road, and that completed a continuous transmission ring around CPP system and provided better system reliability. The Southern Transmission Link will allow CPP to extend electric service to serve potential customers in parts of the south and western areas of Cleveland and neighboring areas. Prior in CPP in 2008 acquired the streetlights that were owned by Cleveland First Energy. Prior to the acquisition, we had provided and maintained 65% of the city's streetlights. With the acquisition of the remaining 35%, CPP can now effectively manage the power and maintenance of all of the city's, at that time, 64,028 streetlights. And to assure an effective takeover, CPP doubled the street lighting workforce, adding 3 maintenance crews to systematically patrol the city streets and support staff as well as new bucket trucks. The Street Lighting Bureau also researched and purchased an automated complaint and tracking system called CATS to track trouble calls and performance. This allowed for the prioritization of complaints and calls. Cleveland Public Power provided infrastructure improvements and new street lighting projects in support of the 10-mile Euclid Corridor transmission project in 2008. And as part of CPP's 5-year strategic business plan, a process was put in place to assess and develop leadership skills within the division. Committed to customer service, we implemented a new work order management system. It improved the efficiencies in customer service and transitioned from a standalone paper-driven work order system to an integrated computer maintenance system. And we also entered a team that year in the American Public Power Association's Lineman's Rodeo. The annual event, which is held in various locations throughout the United States, gave line workers an opportunity to hone their skills and to learn new techniques.
2009, energy efficient, green technology, and customer service. Customer service is key. In effort to serve the customers of CPP, an initial pilot program to aid the ratepayers to reduce energy costs was implemented. This 2-year program distributed compact fluorescent bulbs, CFLs, developed a program where 163 residential and commercials received a whole house makeover and efficiency products such as CFL bulbs, programmable thermostats, and infrared space heaters. 5 commercials and industrial customers received an audit to assess their mechanics and their facilities to identify areas of improvement where it's needed. Bringing solar technology to the greenhouse. CPP installed 20 solar concentrators to demonstrate the efficiency of solar arrays. The arrays had 2 outputs, electricity and hot water. The electricity arrays were connected to CPP's grid. The hot water was used to supply on-site to the city's greenhouse. Increasing the footwork with business and commercial accounts in support of the expansion of the transmission and distribution facility. CPP expanded its sales team to serve the commercial and industrial customers. CPP and customer service improvement. In responding to the customers, CPP redesigned its bill that made it easier to read and more understandable, including a graph on the bill to show the consumption for many years, for months, for a whole year. CPP implemented the bill payment, online telephone service as options to simplify and streamline the handling of monthly bills. In effort to meet the customers, they launched the social media account to communicate important information in real time.
Thank you, Chairman, members of the committee. I'll take over for 2010 with some renewable energy initiatives. which included CPP exploring evolving technology with the municipal solid waste energy program, where CPP considered a facility to process the waste and convert it into electricity through gasification. We also hosted the Energy Tech Expo at Tower City, highlighted both current and future CPP projects, solar, photovoltaic arrays, and greenfield solar hydroelectric projects from AMP, and offered a chance for Clevelanders to learn more about the advances of LED lighting. Our streetlight maintenance program saw some significant upticks in 2010 with increased productivity, reduction in overtime, and improved customer service. Marked a banner year for the Cleveland division of Cleveland Public Power Streetlight Division. They met their requisite benchmarks for maintenance and replacement. And also as part of the 2009 American Recovery and Reinvestment Act, CPP Streetlight Division was awarded a $200,000 grant to initiate an LED streetlight pilot program. Some infrastructure improvements in 2010. CPP took steps over the last few years to expand its capabilities and serve an ever-growing base of customers while improving reliability. Included was the renaming of Holton Interconnect Substation to the George S. Pofolk Substation, the fourth interconnection with First Energy, illuminating company system allowed CPP to import additional power and increase system reliability. Lake Road expansion project enabled CPP to expand its reach as an electrical service provider and take on new customers in the downtown Cleveland area. And the downtown project houses 40 new transformers and produces 138 kilovolts of electricity. Significant projects and new customers in 2010 included the Flats East Bank project, office tower, hotel, and retail park, the Lewis Stokes Veterans Affairs Medical Center, which was a consolidation of the existing Wade Park and former Brecksville facilities, an 8-story, 380,000 square foot CARES Tower, which included 222 inpatient beds. The Juvenile Justice Center, 9-story, 630,000 square feet, building incorporated energy efficient components, including light metered rooms and a state-of-the-art HVAC system. CMHA headquarters was engaging in energy tactics through energy efficient lighting and insulation. And then the Heritage View Homes Phase 1, which included several green initiatives, including solar panels, high efficiency heat pumps, Energy Star rating, urban gardens, and satisfied the Enterprise Green criteria. Also significant in 2010, regulatory compliance. CPP successfully completed 2 scheduled audits that measured reliability standards and cybersecurity. The audit process, which is conducted every 3 years, resulted in 0 violations and gave CPP a clean report. 2010 also saw the safety division at CPP winning the award for most improved division in public safety for the 2nd straight year. They were able to successfully implement its risk management strategic plan by opening lines of communication with the unions and creating action plans to solve minor problems before they became unmanageable. Also created a partnership with Cuyahoga Community College and SkillsNet Corporation to provide critical workforce training and education to employees. The collaboration produced the Smart Grid Technology Initiative, an educational program offered at Tri-C that addresses technological advancements and electrical grid functions. On to 2011, where we again saw significant new customers and projects, which CPP was an integral part of, which include the historic Tudor Arms Hotel, reopened in August of 2011 as the Hilton Doubletree. It's part of the first phase of a $150 million uptown development in the University Circle area. Also, the improvements to the public auditorium, which included 3 11 kilovolt circuits sourced from the Lake Road substation and placed inside the auditorium to deliver ample permanent power. CPP and the sewer district also combined forces in 2011 to help alleviate a problem. The sewer district was in need of a pump station to more effectively deal with city sewage and rainwater runoff. And the solution was to build a new substation on the Cleveland-Bracknell border to power the sewer district's efforts to bore through the earth and create a pathway for the runoff to reach the sewer district pumping station. From a regulatory standpoint, in 2011, Cleveland Public Power successfully completed a migration from the Midwest Independent Transmission System Operator, also known as MISO, to the Pennsylvania, New Jersey, Maryland interconnection, PJM. Both MISO and PJM are regional transmission organizations, which were established following deregulation to ensure fair market trading and increase system reliability. From a customer service and metering standpoint, CPP took the first steps in developing a strategy and considering options for a remote meter pilot program. The program is under consideration to help alleviate some of the extensive service hours needed to deal with connection, disconnection, reconnection. And thank you again, Chairman. I'll hand it over to Bernie Sanders, our Assistant Commissioner of Engineering and Operations. Go ahead, Bernie.
Okay, this is Bernie Jackson. Thank you, AD.
Bernie Jackson, Bernie Sanders.
Yeah. So in 2012, Cleveland Public Power, we had new business. When we energized the East Bank of the Flats, we were able to pick up Ernst & Young, a Fortune 500 business, along with the Aloft Hotel, that's a Starwood property, Largo, Willieville, and Ken Stewart. Green City Growers Cooperative, a 3.25 acre hydroponic greenhouse also. Then Hurricane Sandy came and swept Cleveland. During that time, CPP was able to show its value with planning and partnerships, Cleveland Public Power to its customers in a timely manner. 12% of our customers were reconnected within 5 hours, 45% in the first 12 hours after Hurricane Sandy hit, and 93% after 32 hours. Once we completed all of our customers, we were able to give 16 line workers, which I was a part of, to restore Cleveland residents for Cleveland Electric Illuminating. So we were only working on Cleveland residents' power, but on their grid. Also, we had CPP to host the APPA Lyman Rodeo. This is the first time that we have ever hosted one. It was right over on Marquette. Had a great time. It was overlooking Lake Erie. It was transformed into the Rodeo Central. We set 150 poles, and it was a national event that we competed in, which brought linemen and their families from all over the United States and Guam to Cleveland. Our CPP apprenticeship brought home 4th place in a journeyman team and placed 10 out of 450 other teams, highlighting the focus on CPP has skills and safety in providing power to the residents and businesses of the city of Cleveland. In 2013, CPP receives our national recognition for reliability and safety. Cleveland Public Power was recognized for its commitment to the highest degree of reliability and safe electric service by the APPA. Cleveland Public Power was honored with the Reliability Public Power Provider, also known as RP3 designation, which recognizes Cleveland Public Power utilities that demonstrate proficiencies in 4 key disciplines: reliability, safety, workforce development, and system improvements. The utility received the RP3 Platinum designation. Also in 2013, we picked up new business. We picked up the Victory Center on Euclid Avenue in the city's Midtown Health Tech corridor. The building now houses health tech companies along with its newest business tenant, Diller Tire. We also re-energized East 9th and Euclid in preparation for the renovation of the former Cleveland Trust headquarters and the new Cuyahoga County headquarters. CPP installed duct banks more than 1,000 feet and several miles of cable to provide clean, reliable power to these projects. St. Luke's Medical Center transformed into St. Luke's Manor, home to independent living, retirement community, a local nonprofit, neighborhood progress, and integrational school. Near West Theater was also another new business. One critical role played was to share the cost along with the city to move giant transformers along West 67th Street. CPP had to create a whole new system for the transformers, include moving things underground. We also had the renovation of the historical Ameritrust Bank building with 3 operations below, resulting in an additional 20 megawatts of power added to CPP's portfolio. And that included the Heinen's grocery store, Cuyahoga County Administration Building, and the 9 Hotel and Restaurant. Mitchell Ice Cream brings its headquarters to Cleveland and chose CPP as its electric utility provider. CPP also assisted that family-owned dairy company with savings through the Energy Efficiency and Conservation Program. For their efforts, they were awarded Energy Ambassador Awards from Efficiency Smart. The Ohio company provided that grant for the program.
Okay. Thank you, Bernie. Can everybody hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, thank you. Council and Mr. Chairman, I hope that you guys are writing down some questions because this is a lot of information. So I'm going to close out with some infrastructure things. CPP committed to the hydropower and its power supply diversification goals. To that end, Cannleton plant in 2014 went live. We talked about the streetlight program, continued with the introduction of the smart photo cells and adaptive controls, and that would included the embedded computer chip in 2015. The capacity expansion project continues. The new Southern Transmission Line tied circuit beginning construction to connect the Ridge Road Polk substations. This tie-in required to provide backup service during planned maintenance outages of the utility and interconnection with First Energy. In addition to new business, Cleveland Public Power continues to illuminate the East Bank flats. The addition of the new businesses such as the Alley Cat, the Flipside Burger, the nightclub, East Bank Apartments, all of those came online. In 2015, CPP began a dynamic part of a newly acquired Temple Israel at its transition into the Mulch Performing Arts Center. CPP is responsible for providing 1.5 megawatts of power to that new facility. Cleveland Public Power was pleased to partner with providing power to the new 3rd District Police Station and Communication Center in Midtown Corridor. In 2017, more new business. Cleveland Public Power entered into a business venture with Ohio University Circle Apartments, agreeing to provide 533,000 square feet of 20-story luxury apartments complex located in University Circle. In addition, St. Mark's High School, CPP provide 500 kWd of power to the state-of-the-art facility that is currently housing 380 students. In addition, CPP added the Edge Cleveland Apartments and Playhouse Square, providing 2 megawatts of power. Lions Knitting Mills Lofts in Carton Fulton neighborhood was done as well. By way of reliability, CPP invested in the 11th Street substation. This expansion plan included Lake Road North substation expansion with 238 kV and 111 transformers as associated switchgear. The South Marginal substation, which is a six single phase 11 kV 13.8 transformer at refurbished coal tunnel under the highway for cabling and associated duct manhole system. By way of innovation, Cleveland Public Power, based on the tech company with Brilliancy, recently joined forces to present the local digital platform to customers, which would allow them to engage with the utility as well as learn more about their own electrical usage. Community outreach. Annually during the first week in October, which is coming up soon, Cleveland Public Power transforms downtown parking lot into the Electric Trans Expo as a part of the National Public Power Week, celebrating that week as well. Solar Spirit was reinvigorated this event with more than 30 children participating each year in that. In 2018, more new business. CPP provided power to Cleveland's Midtown Health Tech Coordinator, Link 59, a newly constructed state-of-the-art building providing increase in the startup business and provides ample space for research and development and that in those terms. Hingstown neighborhood is a home of 194 residential and commercial units with 5 floors and many amenities, including the garden and pet washing stations. New business includes the music settlement, the D.O. Summers Dry Cleaners, the APG Office Furnishings, and the grocery. Rainbow Center of Women and Children, a satellite feed to University Circles was also added. Infrastructure improvements, restoration of the 138 kV pipe type cable, which was restored, the second link, which is very important, between the east and west side at the north end of CPP's service area. This was a $6 million project, as you are aware of. CPP is constructing the new 138 kV transmission line. This $18 million project further enhances the reliability and providing another east and west side link to the southern transmission line, which gives us the ability to loop the system. This is expected to be completed in the fourth quarter or the fall of 2020. Just to kind of piggyback on some achievements, the PPA presented CPP with the reliable power provider, commonly referred to as RB3. I think Bernie talked a little bit about that, but what's key about that is the 4 categories that's evaluated. And the 4 categories that are evaluated is reliability, safety, workforce development, and system improvement. And these are all things that are very important to our utility. Cleveland Public Power's student internship, as you're well aware, that has been going on we're celebrating 10 years right now with CMHD school graduates for career and utilities. Some accomplishments in 2019, our switching department received the Unit of the Year, and our trouble lineman from AMP won the Safety Hard Hat Award as well. And then closing, just this power supply and how we were able to reduce some of our costs. We brought on the capacity expansion block purchase price from approximately $40.75 in 2019 to $31.89 in 2020. And that's through mid 2031, allowing the spread between the cost of power and the amount we charge to capacity expansion rate kind of helped our population to and benefit our customers. We renegotiated METCO's extension through the end of 2024, lowering the cost there from $33.65 to $31.20 through that extension. Any block purchases in excess of METCO load is used to serve our general population customers, so the general customers benefit from this as well. Reduced our 2020 variable block purchases from $50.32 in 2019 to $40.35, dramatic reduce there. We successfully negotiated extension with Collingwood Bioenergy purchase power agreement, which allows us to continue to serve our local green energy source. And most importantly, we reached our 20% renewable energy goal by the year of 2020. So with that, Mr. Chairman, this concludes the history of CPP. I hope this gave some perspective on where we were, where we're at, and where we hope to go in the very near future. And so we appreciate your indulgence. That was a lot of information, and we're open to any questions that you may have at this time. Again, we appreciate your indulgence.
Thank you, Director, and all those who participated. Director, obviously that is a lot of information. Is there any way we can get a copy of
Absolutely.
that? I know they were all prepared statements, so if we could just, that was an awful lot, right, to be thrown at us at once. And I actually only made it to about 1983 taking notes before I couldn't keep up anymore. So if we could just get a copy of that.
We'll get that to you, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I see we have two hands up. Before I do that, though, I want to give Council President has joined us today, Councilman Kevin Kelly, if he has any statements or anything he'd like to say before we get into the other council members. Council President?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Appreciate the hearing that's being held. Just wanted to say that, one thing that kind of, has come through this is that, Cleveland Public Power has been a part of Cleveland for a long time, and we need to protect this asset. It's also very clear that, throughout history, there have been those that have been trying to attack Cleveland Public Power and destabilize it. And that's why it's more important right now to value in this asset and make sure that we're doing what we need to do to sustain this for the future. Because, there's been, since its inception, there have been those that have been attacking it and trying to destabilize Cleveland Public Power. So I'm looking forward to this. I know we touched in the presentation, the AMP and the power purchase agreements were touched on. I know that's the subject of a separate hearing, but these are all things that we need to get our heads around, figure out what the collective plan is, and go forward to preserve this asset. So thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. President. We'll move into questions by our colleagues. Councilman Polensek.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, my honorable colleagues, and to the administration. I'm glad the chair had requested all the information, because there's a great deal there as it pertains to the history, the politics surrounding Cleveland Public Power. And it'd be great to see it, because what I've also done, I've also pulled up the history of CEI and trying to lay that side by side against then Muni Light, now Cleveland Public Power. It's very interesting when you compare the different dates and times, and the folks that were behind then the establishment of the Illuminating Company, et cetera, and the historic competition that we've been engaged in since that time. So I think this would be very helpful as well. And I could provide that, Mr. Chairman, to you as well, the history on First Energy, and CEI that I have pulled up. The question I have, obviously, there's been a lot in my time here in the body. I came in right after the legislation was passed to sell the system, and I was involved then with a core group of individuals on the committee then to save Cleveland Public Power, and we were successful. We hit the streets, we worked hard, and because again, as I've indicated, at one time there's a 33% differential between Cleveland Public Power, then again Muni Light and First Energy now, and then the Illuminating Company. So over the years, Cleveland customers, utility customers, power customers saved. Is it thousands? I can't begin to tell you. I was looking at some of my own bills, and when you take 33% each month over God knows how long a period of time, Cleveland consumers in the city of Cleveland saved a great deal of money. And I've indicated I'm very much concerned because that differential has disappeared as a result of what we all talked about as some bad decisions that were made. What I need to do, and I need to get a better understanding of as we go forward, is the relationship between Cleveland today, Cleveland Public Power, and AMP Ohio, because it seems like many of the bad deals that we've entered into are a result of our relationship with AMP. So at some point, I need to understand from a historical standpoint, because you touched on it to Joy Perry and to Rich Barton as they were doing their presentation. I forget again, as I lost track with the dates as well, Mr. Chairman, as to when that relationship between the city and AMP Ohio was established. And is it a legal partnership, or we just enter into as it pertains to these purchase power agreements? I really need to understand that relationship, how Cleveland Public Power is tied to AMP Ohio, because that has affected us so great. So, Mr. Chairman, I greatly appreciate this historical overview as that we've heard today. And I want to thank again, as I've indicated at the previous meeting, the assistance of Joy Perry and Rich Barton and their team at Cleveland Public Power as it pertains to responding to my concerns and the complaints that I received and concerns that I received from my constituents. But Cleveland Public Power, as I indicated during the budget hearings, Cleveland Public Power is in a very difficult situation today. Result of deregulation and everything else that we've been confronted with. The move in Columbus, really, in my opinion, against municipal power systems, the lobbying, the efforts of First Energy in the State House, the power that they have shown, and thank goodness on issue 6, House Bill 6, it came back to bite them because now it's been exposed, the things that they have been engaged in. But even now, as we talk, the repeal House Bill 6 is still is held up because of their influence. Still, even after all the scandal that has broken and has been unleashed, they still have their hooks in the legislature. So as we move forward, as we try to stabilize and improve Cleveland Public Power, we have to be mindful of their influence. We have to be mindful very much of the anti-green energy sentiment that exists in the House, specifically in the House. And we have a lot on our plate. But I need to understand, and maybe at some point, Mr. Chairman, we need to have the law director involved in these discussions, because I'd like to really know, how do we get out? How do we get out of some of these agreements that we've entered into? Is there a legal mechanism for us to escape? Do we have to sue? Do we have to link up with other municipalities who are in the same situation? We're paying higher for purchase power than we were told. So we have a lot to consider as we move forward. This process of understanding where we've been and where we're going. I'm glad to hear the new businesses that we have picked up. I need to understand as well how economic development ties into this, because any new project that is constructed in the city of Cleveland, in our service area, should be under Cleveland Public Power. And I want to say that to the director. I mean, we got to hustle. We got to get all the business we can get. So I'm a firm believer that if you're within the footprint of Cleveland Public Power and you're opening a new business or you're getting city assistance, that there should be a linkage, there should be a tie with Cleveland Public Power. That's I've maintained that for years and years. We saw major projects come online where the city was involved in, and yet they weren't, Cleveland Public Power didn't benefit from those. And that has to change. We have to be aggressive. We have to be competitive. And I'm prepared to do whatever I have to do to keep this system viable. I walk the streets to save Cleveland Public Power. I did on behalf, not of myself, I did on behalf of my constituents, because I have the largest customer base in the 8th Ward, not just the 8th Ward, but the greater Collinwood community. We have the largest customer base within Cleveland Public Power. And I intend to keep that base, and I intend to grow it and nurture it and protect it. But I want to make sure that our residents are being treated fairly. Our consumers are being treated fairly by Cleveland Public Power. And so, Mr. Chairman, on that note, I'll look forward to that. Whatever information can be provided, the relationship between us and AMP. And I don't know if the director would care to comment on that.
Mr. Councilman Polensek, if I'm not mistaken, I believe we first started contracting with AMP in around 2009. If I'm not mistaken, and we'll be going more in depth with our contracts and all that at the September 29th hearing for with our purchase power hearings that we're going to have on that day. But Director, is there any comments you, AD, or the Commissioner want to make regarding Councilman Polensek's comments?
I just want to start really by saying I concur with Council Members Polensek's dedication to protecting, preserving this asset, first and foremost. In terms of AMP, I indicated at the last committee hearing that AD and I, at an appropriate point in time in the near future, will be sitting down with the CEO and COO, which is new leadership of AMP, to talk about some of these various things that we're talking about with the high hydros and how we kind of mitigate and reduce our risk with where those are concerned. If that falls on deaf ears, then we certainly would be looking at any legal remedies we can look at in terms of trying to get out of some of these contracts. But I think the first conversation needs to be how we offset the current contracts that we're in, because they are long-term and it's not going to be that easy to get out of them. I can tell you that. But we're willing to explore that avenue. We want to figure out how transmission and capacity and how we reduce that cost and look at more renewable energy, so we may be able to offset some of the high hydros. But there's the conversations that definitely are going to be had in the very near future. And personally, me and AD sits on the board, so we're going to be engaging here very soon. With regard to community development and economic development and city planning, Councilman, we work with them, every day on one facet or another. And so we always have our eye on the ball where that is concerned, where we can pick up customers. There's no doubt about it. So we work very, very diligently with ED, CD, and city planning, and with the hopes that we can pick up customers. And to the testimony of, some of the history that we went through, you can see we've been successful in getting some of those, in the city and building and getting and gaining new customers and retaining some of the customers that we had as well. So there's a lot of work yet to do, and we're dedicated to trying to get it done.
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, I want to thank the director's response. I look forward to that. The only thing I would ask, that I understand there are some lawsuits that other municipalities or areas where they have filed lawsuit, especially as it pertains to the Prairie State project. So I'd like to, know as well, are those lawsuits still pending? Have they been, are they been thrown out? I just need to understand that as we get into this whole purchase power, AMP Ohio, the whole thing, because that obviously has affected us greatly. I just want to close and just say this, Mr. Chairman. I was here through what they called then the puny muni war, because they tried to paint Cleveland Public, then Muni Light, as a system that could not exist, was going to be devoured by CEI and the business powers that be. And I was here. I saw the political pressure. I saw the lobbying. I was here. I saw it firsthand. So, anyone who says it didn't happen, I would tell them they're badly mistaken. It happened. They did everything they could. They lobbied members of city council, and we saw that in the 70s, 77, there was an ordinance passed. Who would have thought to do away with Cleveland Public Power? But that was the power of CEI's influence upon this body and with the corporate community. And, you know, a former mayor, Dennis Kucinich, his political career he was taken out politically because of his desire to save Cleveland Public Power. He paid a severe price. I witnessed that firsthand. If it wasn't for him, and then secondly, George Voinovich coming in, who then put the effort in place to shore up the system, we wouldn't even be talking about this today. It would be part of the quote unquote first energy system. So there was a lot that transpired. There were people who paid a severe political price. And we have to, let's not forget that. Let's not forget the people who worked hard, the employees, the diligent employees that worked to save this system over the years. So on that note, I look forward to the hearings. I want to thank you, Mr. Chairman, for your concern and due diligence on this matter. It's of critical importance to the people of Cleveland. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councilman Paluntsi. Councilman McCormick.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And again, I appreciate your diligence in setting up these hearings. I've got, quite a few specific questions for the hearings to come, so I will save those for those points. But Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to, and again, thank you for putting this together. I very much agree with the sentiment that we've got to protect Cleveland Public Power. I've grown over my time on council to realize how much of an asset it is. But sometimes, like a family member, when you love them, you got to have a hard conversation with them in order for them to get better. So I view these conversations not as attacking Cleveland Public Power, but saying, how do we look under the hood to determine what needs to be fixed so that we can be so that CPP can be as strong as possible, whether that's using green energy or whether that's the most advantageous rates for residents or whatever it might be. To me, that's why we're doing this, and I appreciate your leadership here so that we can come out and CPP can come out as strong as possible. Mr. Chairman, I just have one concern relating to documentation for these hearings. I think it is critically important that we have the unredacted version of the study put out from New Gen Strategies. And I understand that, the feedback you got at the beginning was that the mayor's administration is not interested in or not willing to, or has made the determination that they don't want to release that report. But quite frankly, Mr. Chairman, given the fact that we are the oversight body on Cleveland City Council specifically, I mean, I would love for this committee to entertain that if we are not able to successfully get that report, to exercise Chapter 5, Section 46 of our subpoena power to get that report. I think it's extremely important that we see all the information in that report as the oversight body for this. So I'm not asking for an answer today, but I would love, for us to consider that if we continue to be stopped from receiving that information in that report. But again, Mr. Chairman, thank you for your leadership on this issue. And again, I will save my specific questions for the topics for the weeks to come.
All right, thank you, Councilman McCormick. It's definitely something we can look into. But again, as I mentioned at the beginning, I don't think we need to beg the administration to release that. They're going to stand behind the trade secrets that they indicated why they couldn't release that, which is one of the reasons, again, that we want to bring New Gen to the table as well. So we're going to look at all possibilities and all options, but I agree with you. In some capacity, I do believe that if nothing else, the members of the Utilities Committee should be able to view that document one way or another unredacted. Thank you, Councilman McCormick. Councilman Brancatelli.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and certainly again, thanks for hosting this committee and looking at what's going to be occurring for the next 5 meetings as well. And as we talked about the history, Director Davis talked about some of the new projects they're working on, and certainly Councilman Paluntsi talked about the desire to make sure that our new projects include CPP. So that one direct question is, especially for these larger industrial projects, this ability for CPP to be able to service them. We've had a number of projects in some of the Industrial Valley that CPP would not have been able to get service to. What are the opportunities to be able to service or expand given the current circumstances.
Director?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear, he broke up on the last part of what he said. I did hear what prohibits.
I have unreliable spectrum cable, so sorry. The ability to expand, and especially in our commercial corridors and industrial corridors, where does that stand?
Okay, I'm gonna yield to either AD and or Rich Barton.
I'll take a stab through the chairman of the council. Oh, here comes Rich. I will yield to Rich Barton.
We have capacity in various parts of the city now. The industrial valley where the steel plants are, we don't have capacity down there. We had not built the system, but we have capacity in downtown. We have capacity in University Circle. We've got capacity along the Detroit Shoreway area. The southeast parts of Cleveland, and in more limited sense, we've got some capacity in Collinwood. It depends on the size of the project. If it's mega sized, it becomes more problematic. We can't do a steel plant, for example. We can't do metal steel and things like that. But we can certainly do, and we have, for example, the Lumen, the 34-story building that went up in downtown. That's ours. We serve it.
It was more, I don't want to get our skis too far in front of us when there's discussion around mandating CPP access when in some areas we just can't serve it.
We try to take whatever we can. We have worked with economic development. We do have a number of projects that, not sure if economic development has urged them to come, but they come to us. All the stuff along West 28th and Detroit there next to Saucy Brew Works, that's all ours. The Snavely project at the corner of Detroit, that's ours. And a lot of renovation that has occurred in downtown Cleveland is ours. The Leader Building that, and of course the Nines and things like that. Matter of fact, they just opened the Euclid Grand, which runs between East 10th and 12th on the north side of Euclid. The sort of the amalgamation of 5 buildings that are there that they've turned into residential headquarters. That's ours.
And so along that same vein of expansion, there's been a lot of discussions in my ward. I have a number of landfills around converting landfills to solar arrays and solar farms. And is that on the radar for CPP to be engaged, because they need to be the connecting provider and looking at these solar farms as part of sustainability?
We've had some discussions with the folks, I believe it's at 71st, is it?
Yes.
Landfill. We've had some discussions there. That project hasn't evolved as far as, for example, the Brooklyn Solar Project did, and we did that one. We have, if the deal is right, there is ability of us to connect to that.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I have 3 landfills now. I'm sure after redistricting, I might have 8 landfills, but I think looking at these solar farms is a great reuse strategy for some of this open land. So thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah, to the top chair, to the councilman, it is definitely on our radar, definitely.
All right, thank you, Councilman Brancatelli. To the director, whether it was 1890 or 1903 or 1906, when Muni Light started, or the what is now CPP started, why hasn't, if you know, Cleveland Public Power been able to expand to be able to service the whole city? I mean, the further west you go, the less CPP has. I know that Councilman Slife, I think, only has 1 customer with CPP. I have less than 100 in Ward 16. Why is it that CPP has never expanded to the far west side?
To Mr. Chairman, I can't emphatically answer as to why that wasn't explored before. I can say that you would actually have to do and have infrastructure put in. I think we service somewhere a little over 50% or so. Therefore, the cost associated, I don't know if a study has been done or the infrastructure that is needed and the cost associated with that infrastructure and what that would do to the rate structure was looked at. But I know right now that we are over 300 megawatt system, and in order to pick up more capacity and loading, I think that we would have to obviously invest in more infrastructure to be able to do it. Rich, anything to add to that?
Well, it all depends on, basically takes the will of all involved. At one time, when we expanded to the east side, there was a version of the expansion that would have done less on the east side and some on the west side. Eventually, the deal was hammered out between the administration and council that the expansion occurred where it did. So it would take another phase of expansion to go west. It's not that we avoided it. It's the way the deal got worked out in the 1980s.
Hey, Rich, would the Southern Transmission Line help us in that capacity?
It will. It gives us a center of power at Ridge Road and allows us to then go from there out to the airport. If that would, that's certainly a load that would serve as an anchor load if we were to expand west.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Councilman Slife.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Just a couple quick things. In speaking with economic development a little while back, I was under the impression that state law actually precludes the city from compelling CPP as an electric customer as some kind of condition of receiving city money or being in a city contract. Is that, we can certainly advertise the services, but is it true that we can't, make that a stipulation of any sort of agreement?
To the chairs that come out, that is my understanding.
Okay, and that's useful information, and I think that of course, we're working to compete in the, as you sort of alluded to, there's parts of town that maybe don't have service, but then also some, like if you're a plastics injection molding, CPP might not have the excess capacity necessary to serve that sort of customer. Mr. Chair, I have a question about looking ahead at the future weeks, of how we're doing this kind of series of hearings. On October 6th, the calendar has CPP operations. Is that when we would be getting kind of like looking at maps and transmission lines, distribution lines, locations of substations? If there's any ability for CPP leadership to kind of front load some of those maps, or as we start getting deeper into the financial position and operations, that's a lot of that would help me kind of create the framework I need to maybe ask stronger questions and understand what's going on. And at this point, I have a concept of that the Lake Road substation is probably by the lake, and that the Southern Transmission Line is probably further south. But being able to see all that, then most people don't understand power generation and how it comes into the broader network, and how are you sure that you're actually paying for wind energy? A lot of electric consumption can be kind of confusing for the average consumer. So I think it'd be helpful to get some of that information up front, and we can go deeper into it on the 6th of October. But to the degree that there's any documents that could be forwarded over even in advance of next week's meeting to help create that foundation, I'd appreciate that.
Sorry about that. Yeah, we'll ask for that. And again, to my colleagues, any questions that you may have regarding any of the upcoming hearings, please provide them to me if we can, so that I can work with the administration so that we can get as much information out as possible. And again, Councilman Slife, like you just requested, if you could just jot that down in an email to me, so that we can get that to the administration. I know the administration has said to me that the more questions they can get, or the more information they can provide at these hearings, the better off we're all going to be in the end. So again, if anybody has any questions regarding any of the upcoming hearings, doesn't have to be the week of or whatever, especially if it's a big one like that, where we can give the administration plenty of time to get that information to us. That would be appreciated. And see Councilman Polensek has his hand back up, so we're gonna go back to Councilman Polensek.
Thank you. Mr. Chairman, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes. Yes. Now we can't.
Can you hear me now?
Now we can hear you.
Mr. Chairman, I just want to respond to your comment. Why is there a lack of service on the far west side? And I will tell you, I was here. Just as I mentioned earlier, in what's happened in Columbus, CEI embarked upon a massive lobbying effort within City Council to deny expansion to the west side. And as my late honorable dear friend Fannie Lewis would say often, follow the money. Follow where campaign contributions went and follow their lobbying efforts within the body, within the council leadership at that time. So I can tell you the expansion on the east side, they thought it was going to be more difficult for them, Union Light, and it was going to bog the system down. They were actively, CEI was actively opposed to the expansion of the system on the west side. That lobbying effort was intense. There were some council members who bit the dust over that. And I can just tell you that's why. It had nothing to do, and I know Rich Barton is sitting there and he's being very diplomatic and a little bit coy about what transpired, but he was here as well. He saw it, he witnessed it, and it fell right on the responsibility of this body. The corporate community lobbied against the expansion. They were involved in it up to their eardrums. And that's why folks on the west side, especially the far west side, don't have Cleveland Public Power today, because of CEI's sinister efforts and lobbying efforts and political campaign operation that created this situation that we're faced with today. So that's it. I was here. I have no fear of contradiction to what I'm saying here. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you, Councilman Polensek. Seeing no other hands, we're going to conclude the meeting by saying next week's hearing will be on the financial position of Cleveland Public Power. At that time, what I'm going to ask is that I'd like to at least go back 10 years on the financial position of Cleveland Public Power, starting in 2010, 2009, we'll say. And one of the things we're going to be looking at is the unencumbered cash per year, leading up from 2009 forward. As well, and we'll put this in an email to you as well. And again, the financial position of Cleveland Public Power going back 10 years. We don't have to, I don't think we need to go back any further than that. Because I don't believe that we'd had an increase or a surplus before that. So that being said, I'm gonna I guess gavel out the meeting or end the meeting until the call of the chair, which will be next Tuesday, September 15th at 11:30. And again, the topic will be the financial position of Cleveland Public Power. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.